are Orc Boar Big Uns, any good in patch 6.0.3. So we arrive at the Boar senpai version of the Orc Boar boys. How much bigger and how much harder are they? Let's take a good look with noses pinched. My early childhood included occasionally being in smelling distance of pig farms, guys. I know. Recruited for 850 gold and 214 upkeep, which is starting to really get up there. On an ultra scale, this gets us 60 entities with 7,920 health between them, so unlike the infantry, it's an equal number of entities, just more health. Armor is 85, but the shields are gone. Like the foot unit, leadership is 68, and unlike the foot unit, speed of 70 and charge speed 104 are completely identical to Boar Boys. Melee attack begins at 22, exactly the same as Boar Boys. In fact, attack interval 5.1 is markedly worse. There is no splash damage. Melee defense starts at 26, a little bit better than regular Boar Boys. Weapon strength of 32 is marginally better, but the split, base 9 into armor piercing 23, is improved toward armor piercing. However, the bonus versus large of 12 is 50% in excess of that of the infantry version of Big Uns. Charge bonus of 50 is slightly better than usual by 2. Mass is 1500 per entity, a significant improvement in porcine mass. There is indeed a savage version, and it is bought for, rather interestingly, 1000 gold and 275 upkeep, if this card is to be trusted. Like the regular Boar Boys, armor is 35 rather than 0, physical resistance is 25%. Leadership of 68 matches the regular Big Uns. Melee attack starts at 26 base, attack interval is a more savage 4.5, melee defense worse at 22, weapon strength 4 better at 36, split 12 base and 24 armor piercing. Interesting tweak. However, the bonus versus large is only plus 5. Remember that. Charge bonus is 58 default, and then mass is 1500, same as usual. But then you have Frenzy, so that jacks up melee attack by 10, and weapon strength and charge bonus by an additional 10% unless the unit is basically broken anyway. Between those two things, I really cannot call the unit underprivileged when it comes to skewering large opponents. I believe a lot of these differences date back quite some years in the game. In the redline skills, Riders once again adds plus 12% speed and plus 12 flat charge bonus at 3 pips. Ard Lads will offer Red 7 versions, plus 12 armor, plus 5 melee defense, and 8% ward save, all strong stuff. In the tech tree, we're dealing once again with pointy tusks and fata pigs, so I'll put those up and you can look over the details. Mass started at 1500, not 1200, so the fats get fattier. The thing is, the scrap upgrades are pretty fundamentally different. Without text, 35 scrap provides scrap saddles enabling armor plus 15 and speed plus 15%. This makes the Big Un get a lot of the speed it loses to the other units back well, unless they get scrap saddles too, but still, if it's the regular version, they're rocking 100 armor already, and they're faster. Scrap armor from Spoils of War allows them to get another armor plus 25, which is pretty crazy if combined, and missile block chance 30%, which mitigates one of their big inherent weaknesses. Missile block will reduce armor piercing attacks to 0 damage if it procs. Finally, the biggest sticks, which requires pouring scrap into the best loots, which is often used for black orcs, grants bonus versus large plus 8 in addition to what they already have, and charge bonus plus 20 flat. Important to note if it's flat or percentage. Flat is very powerful if the number is not over 100 yet. Savage orcs have it a little differently. They too can use scrap saddles and the biggest sticks, but Spoils of War grants access to bone breastplates, offering armor plus 15 and melee defense plus 6, like an upgraded version of ivory arm guards. Well, that's really what it is anyway. If it's Wurzag's faction, they can rock Idol of Gork 2 for mobile magic dampening. So how do we use the Boar Big Uns? Well, I'd like to think we use them a lot like the original model, honestly. They're shock cavalry in disguise, and while the savage ones are a lot better in pitched melee to start with, honestly, even against large opponents, you'd much rather go in with a strong charge. Everything else is suboptimal use, and that's why it's often hard to get the most out of a hammer unit, because you're often fighting opponents that outnumber you and frustrate your ability to create appropriate charge targets. On the other hand, it's a strong unit and tends to really roll over things. It's just that it also tends to attract attention and take a lot of damage. You have to respect its shortcomings, and one of them is that it's a medium-sized large unit, meaning that anything with that for a target size for splash damage, like basic ogre units, will splash damage between them, and that can get very contagious fast. hammer units don't react well to being hammered themselves. It's still a fair bit tougher than the original version, and armor piercing is glorious and you want to use it as much as you can, but you need to respect when that's not good enough and you're just eating damage you wish you weren't. Sometimes you just have to put up with it for victory. Other times you can avoid early damage and at least just shove the Big Uns in the enemy's face late in the fight. If you can use them like armor-piercing shock cavalry though, watch out. They snowball well. Take care, and have fun goring lots of other people's oxes. It's the fun way to fight.